Let's wrap it up. NFC South, Tampa Bay Bucks. Another NFC South championship last year. Over-unders 9.5 for the Bucks. They're a team, the way I would characterize where the Bucks are right now, felt like a nice, good, solid roster the last couple of years. Of course, we would always say, we don't know what are you going to get from Baker Mayfield, and you got good play the last 2 years. Not elite play, but good play. But they always felt like they were a tick below the best teams in the NFC. But now, as every other team, the Eagles lose some defensive linemen, the Lions lose their coordinators, the Niners are in shambles after last year. All of a sudden, the Bucs roster, which hasn't changed a whole lot the last couple of years, hasn't changed a whole lot. All of a sudden, it's like they've got some continuity. We've got more faith in Baker Mayfield. And now, all of a sudden, are the Bucs in that same spot? Are they actually, should they be in that same spot as the Eagles and the Lions? And yes, Bucs fans, I know they beat the Eagles and Lions last year, but they were 10-7, where those other teams were way better. So they're not in the same league as them the last couple of years, but are they this season?
That's one of those annoying facts that
I
just
read the
irritatingly
comments.
goes
Every time
against.
I say it, they're like, did you know that we beat? Yes, I know, but you went 10-7.
It's just one of those irritating facts that runs directly contrary to the self-evident point that you're making.
Can they compete with the Lions and the Eagles and the best teams on a 17-game schedule?
It's very clear and obvious that Tampa Bay, it was not as good as the very best teams in the NFC last year. It's just quite annoying that they beat the very best teams in the NFC last year specifically.
Will they not lose those other 7 games? If they were that good, they probably should have won.
The Bucs feel like they've taken over from the Kirk Cousins Vikings as like the NFC team that's good, not great, right? And sort of they're going to be there or thereabouts every single year, but can they actually beat those best teams and specifically beat more than one of them in a row through a playoff run, which was the bigger point, right? That's your way out of they beat the Eagles and the Lions thing. It's like, okay, can they beat both of them and another team sequentially to go through a playoff run? They also
lost in the wild card.
Right, because that's what they need to actually achieve. The difference between them and the Kirk Cousins Vikings is I think they have an easier pathway because of the division they're in. Like they're automatically set up in a slightly better situation because of that division. Now, maybe that division gets a bit harder this year if Carolina is better than they were last year, if Michael Penix Jr. is significantly better than Kirk Cousins was. Maybe that dynamic changes. But for the moment, I think they are a good, not great team that's trying to bridge that gap to the elite teams.
Josh Grizzard, offensive coordinator now for the Bucs. So we deal with coaching changes all the time.
It's a good name once you get it right.
How many coordinators has Baker now had?
All of them.
It's like more than one per season because he played for 2 teams that 1 year.
It's crazy.
But
he's now, I think he's made this point as well. He's now reached the critical mass where like there is no person you can hire now where I don't already know his offense.
Oh, I did that 4 years ago.
Right.
Got it. So he's replacing Liam Cohen. And now we have 2 years of Baker having pretty good success under Dave Canales, under Liam Cohen. So does this even matter here? Of course it matters. Every coordinator is different. They have a different flow. Like there's decisions that they make that impact the game. But Baker's shown that he could have success across multiple, whereas sometimes when a quarterback doesn't have a ton of success their first 6 or 7 years, like a Sam Darnold, you go into it's like, oh, is this all Kevin O'Connell? Is that why Sam Darnold was so good? Let's see. I don't think we have that let's see from Baker Mayfield. I think he is what he is, which is wherever you want to rank him, guy that you can win with, guy that gets streaky, and when he gets streaky, it looks really good. And if you just cut down some of the bad streaks, all of a sudden you've got high-end seasons from Baker.
I mean, it's a different world now, but his numbers last year were really pretty crazy. If you look at the sort of the conventional stats that people, certainly you and I don't tend to look at much anymore because you're so focused on more advanced numbers or rate stats or whatever. But like Baker Mayfield threw for 41 touchdowns and had 16 picks last year and had 4,500 yards in the regular season. That's like better than the Kurt Warner MVP year where he blew up the league with the Rams and the greatest show on turf and, set new passing records and put it into the stratosphere.
You're doing a 17-game schedule. You're not adjusting for anything.
Take a game away. It's still Kurt Warner had 41 touchdowns that year.
It's a whole different era. What are you doing?
Give him one more game.
You're kicked off the show. You're comparing an era from 25 years ago with a different you could say it was a really good statistical season without pulling out Kurt Warner's year.
I mean, I literally said it's a different era to begin this thing.
And then you continued
the
point being,
analysis. For a guy to have 40-plus touchdowns, 4,500 yards, even in a 17-game schedule era, is
It was very
some
good.
pretty crazy numbers.
In a year where Chris Godwin got hurt, you missed Mike Evans for a little bit, so you had some turnover at the receiver position. So yeah, it was impressive.
Like, it's 13 more touchdowns than he's had in any other previous season. I mean, this was not just a career year for Baker Mayfield in terms of playing very well and, being better than people gave him credit for. I mean, this moved the mark for him, like set a new high water mark.
No, I agree. So I think you can. I think Baker's shown that. There's, I think when you look at the PFF game grades, it tells a little bit of a story as well. There's a lot of games under 60. There's a lot of games over 90. He's got some of that streakiness to him. So I want to see if you could bottle up some of the consistency. Like, what is consistency? Just playing better over time. Not having those duds. If you could take some of the turnover-worthy plays that come in bunches for Baker Mayfield, you cut down on some of that, you could have another really special season. I love the receiving core. I don't know what happens with Chris Godwin as far as his injury recovery, but you're already getting tons of hype, Sam. You're already getting tons of hype from Emeka Egbuka because he's just a really good football player, so that's expected. I think he has a chance to step in, make an impact. A year or two of Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving at running back, him taking over a little bit more of the workload like he did down the stretch last year. They've got a chance to have outstanding playmakers, and their entire offensive line is back. Once Tristan Wirfs gets back from injury, he'll be missing the first 4 weeks or so. We'll see what that ends up being. But once Wirfs is back, you have the entire offensive line back where they, led a really good offense last year.
And that's going to be a struggle for them for the first month of the season. You would imagine the gap between Tristan Wirfs and, anybody at left tackle will be huge, but particularly Tampa Bay does not appear to have a particularly strong replacement in-house yet. So the first month is going to be a grind for them surviving without Tristan Wirfs. But, even if Chris Godwin is a slow burn to return, they're very well insulated at wide receiver. Mike Evans is great. Jalen McMillan is solid. I think he could step in and be the number 2 if they needed him to, step up from the sort of number 3 spot. If he isn't able to do that, Emeka Egbuka might be able to do that right off the bat. And then you've got the more niche, dynamic potential playmakers of vertical threat Trey Palmer, Tez Johnson. I saw Baker Mayfield name dropping. You've got Sterling Shepard, who he resuscitated the career of last year, his old college roommate or college teammate. He name-checked some other wide receiver the other day, and I can't remember who it was.
Well, some of those name-check guys have to get cut.
Sure.
Put on practice squad or something. They've got too many bodies there. I know Godwin will he might be on IR to start the season. I don't know what that'll end up being.
The pup list.
But they could slow play Godwin for a while because of the depth that they've built.
Tez Johnson is the one, though, where even though he's a day 3 pick and, he's so unique and dynamic and dangerous, I just would be shocked if he didn't, A, make the team, and B, make a little bit of noise this season.
Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that. Hit that subscribe button, and now let's get back to the action. Yeah, we both love Tez Johnson coming out. So I love their pass catchers, love the way Baker Mayfield has progressed. Should be a solid offensive line. They're going to have to survive early in the season without Wirfs. They've got the Falcons in week 1, and they're young edge rushers, but the Texans in week 2, and their duo, the Eagles in week 4, even Will McDonald in week 3 with the Jets. So we'll see what happens on that end. Defensively, similar as far as just continuity. A lot of bodies coming back. Breakout season last year from Zion McCollum at corner. Him and Jamel Dean as a nice 1-2 punch at corner. Breakout season from Yaya Diaby last year and as a second-round player. It looks like a legit pass rusher that they could depend upon. 1-year flyer now on Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
And if he can get back to anything that he was previously with the Eagles, all of a sudden they've got another really nice edge rusher there in a duo with Diaby and, of course, the great Vita Vea in the middle, and us wondering why he can't just destroy everybody on every single snap.
Yeah. Reddick, I think, is a big X factor for that defense. Kalijah Kancey as well. Can he become a consistent game wrecker as a pass rusher, even if he's a liability in the run game? And maybe that will be his dynamic, as a player at the NFL level. Really disruptive pass rusher, liability in the run game. At the moment, he's not quite hyper disruptive. He is sometimes, and there's some really good plays there, and the highlight reel is great. I don't think he's as consistent as they want him to be for a first-round player, and he's a liability in the run game. I think if that balance tips a bit more towards being disruptive and just a real force as a pass rusher, then he can make a big difference there.
Levante David, they re-signed him again for another 1-year deal.
God
Guy
bless
can still play at linebacker. Saw our friend Pete Prisco talking up Servace Dennis, the second-year linebacker, missed a lot of time last year due to injury. I liked him coming out. I think he can make an impact next to David as well. Antoine Winfield Jr., full season of him at safety. So I think the secondary looks pretty good. Linebacker looks solid. I like the depth on the defensive line now. And again, a big part of this is because these guys are homegrown, and sometimes those stats are overrated. Like this team has, 90% of their starters were all drafted.
Right.
In the Bucs case, I think there's some like Logan Hall. The fact that Logan Hall was drafted and is a starter for them, he's an okay player. But overall, the fact that they've drafted and developed, the depth that they've created, mostly in-house, I think is a huge win for Jason Light, this front office, and what they've done in Tampa Bay.
I'm rooting for the star of the Shedeur Sanders draft fall, which is Shiloh Sanders.
Shiloh, of course.
Shiloh Sanders became quite clearly the glue guy throughout that entire process, and more importantly, the jokester who was constantly cracking jokes throughout the entire process. Like, the time to get an agent, because apparently my dad being my agent hasn't worked out that well, or it didn't work out for Shedeur. I'm rooting for Shiloh now. Even, I'm not sure he's a great player, and I'm not sure he makes the roster, but I'm now rooting for Shiloh Sanders.
All of this analysis is for this year, and we'll pick their over-under in a minute here, but we also mentioned, I think these last two drafts, the Bucs have just brought in a ton of good football players that are both going to bring depth this year, but guys like Benjamin Morrison at corner, who I thought looked like a first-round player for much of his career, gets hurt. They might not need a whole lot of him this year with McCollum and Jamel Dean, but gives them flexibility.
They had a really nice draft.
Yeah, gives them flexibility for the future. Same thing with Egbuka. If something happens with Godwin or he can't play, Egbuka's bringing that depth. So I think a lot of their drafts, just drafting good football players at non-need positions, when you start to stack that up on the depth chart, it's like, wow, they've got great depth because they just continue to bring in good football players even when they didn't need them. So I think that's the other strength that the Bucs have, is the depth that they've built through their draft and develop approach the last couple of years.
Yeah. Bummer, unfortunately, that they've already lost one of those draft picks with David Walker going down. But, I think they had a really almost maybe all of those draft picks could contribute year one, obviously other than Walker.
All right, man. Over-under's 9.5 here for the Bucs. 10-win season last year, and 4 straight years as the NFC South champions.
Yeah. I'm willing to go over. I think they can still win the division and get to double-digit wins.
Yeah, I'll say over as well. I think the Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles era has been, I've said inconsistency a million times here, but I think they've lost a lot of games that they would want back, but they've stepped up and won some big games as well, like the Eagles and the Lions last year. If you just cut down on some of those unexpected losses, then you're talking about a 12, maybe a 13-win season here for the Bucs. So I'm going to go over, and I think they have a chance to, make a run, maybe get into the final 8, maybe even get into a conference championship game this year.
That inconsistency you talked about with Baker Mayfield is a big part of that. If you get a game where Baker has 3-4 turnover-worthy plays, it's pretty hard to win those games. But if you get a game where he has, 3-4 big-time throws and doesn't put the ball in harm's way, it's pretty difficult to lose those games. Baker's inconsistency and streakiness and variability, I think, gives them a very broad range of outcomes in any given week. But if Baker plays well on top of a pretty good, talented team, they're a very hard team to beat.
One more prediction for the Bucs. Mike Evans will have more than 1,000 receiving yards this year.
Will they have to feed it to him?
Even if he plays 5 games, they will find a way.
But will they need to feed it to him in the dying seconds of the Week 18 game to get him there?
The legend continues with Mike Evans.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
Check the Mike is live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit this subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
The all-knowing algorithm is convinced that you'll like these videos as well, and frankly, who are we to argue?